Believe it or not, you'll be listening to a soundtrack for a board game, Fortune and Glory from Flying Frog Productions to be more specific. They really try to live up to that production part of their name. Today we'll be looking at a number of adventure-style press your luck games. We'll be looking at The Adventurers, The Pyramid of Horus, and also we'll be taking a look at Incan Gold. And later on we'll have some tips on how to store your games properly and explain why we got a bag of Cheetos and a Jones soda sitting here on the table. And there are a lot of adventure style games. We've got a number of card style games. Munchkin's a classic. Then there's a deck building style games. Thunderstone Advanced. It's a fairly recent addition. And of course there's a lot of fantasy style board games. Descent, where you got one person running the monsters, the other one's running the heroes. Dungeons and Dragons can't be complete without including a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's a board game version. It's not a full role-playing game, but it really is great for people that don't have a whole lot of time on their hand. We have Runebound. It was a pretty big board style game. Talisman's a classic from the past. Got Munchkin Quest. That's actually basically it's like Munchkin in 3D. And then we got a lot of the games that we're kind of talking about today. We got things like Lost Cities and among other things. But first we'll be taking a look at Fortune and Glory. Fortune and Glory is inspired by movies like Indiana Jones and the old cliffhanger serials from the 30s and 40s. It's a versatile game. You can play as a competitive game where it's everybody for themselves, or you play as team play, or you play as a co-op where it's everybody against the game. The objective in Fortune and Glory is to travel the world acquiring artifacts and acquiring glory by overcoming dangers. You increase your fortune by selling artifacts, and you use glory to buy new cards, gears, and allies. There are 4 phases in each round. There's the initiative phase, the move phase, the adventure phase, and the end phase. In the initiative phase, players roll a die to see who goes first. Any player that rolls a 1, they get a free event card. Then there's the move phase. Starting with the first player, each player rolls a die and moves that many spaces on the board. There are 3 space types: land, city, and sea. On land and city, the cost for movement is 1 per space, while in sea spaces, the movement's cost is printed on the space. Any player that rolls a 1 during the move phase may also draw a free event card. During the adventure phase, players interact with the space that they're on. If they're in a city, they could draw a city card. If they're on an empty land or sea space, and there's no artifact, on the roll of 4, 5, or 6, they get an event card. On the roll of 2 or 3, nothing happens, and on the roll of 1, they draw an enemy card that attacks you. If there's artifact in the space, you may now go on the adventure. But first you have to set up your adventures. To do that, you draw an artifact card and an adventure card. And you combine them and it creates a kind of a movie title that you might expect from these kinds of movies the game's based on. For example, you may want to say in a very cheesy voice, Duke Dudley in The Mask of Poseidon. Once you go on adventures, there's a number of dangers you have to overcome. For example, you drew the infiltrate secret Nazi base. Duke Dudley has a monocle for some reason, and apparently it gives him +1 cunning. I think if your character's named Clink, I think that may not apply. Hogan! To overcome it, he has to roll a 5 using 4 dice. 3 on his cunning for his normal skill, plus the monocle. He also has to overcome the agility danger, but every time you make a successful roll, you can keep rolling. If he fails to infiltrate the secret Nazi base, you flip the card over and it's off onto the cliffhanger. The alarm goes off in this case. It's calling for you to draw a Nazi enemy card, plus it gains extra 2 wounds, so it's a little harder to kill. If the tests are passed and the danger has been overcome, you may choose to either camp down or press on. If you camp down, you collect all your fortune and your glory, and it moves on to the next player's turn. If you press on to the next danger, you risk losing all the glory you potentially have won so far. So if you quickly overcome your dangers and complete the adventure, you can move on and sell your artifacts and move on to the next adventure. There are a lot of adventures and scenarios that could go on in this game, and we can't possibly cover them all. So let's move on to the next one, The Adventurers. And the adventurer is your adventurer, of course, and you go into this pyramid and try to get as much treasure as you can and get out before you're trapped in with all these mummies. During the game, there's these blocks that randomly fall that could potentially trap you inside, so you definitely want to get out before that happens. Each player takes control of one of 8 adventurers. These adventurers are ready to face any danger and any risk to grab as many archaeological relics as they can carry and escape alive. The pyramid entrance is filled with rubble, loaded with equipment, dangerous snakes, and treasures. Inside the pyramid, adventurers can try to recover treasures from the alligator pit, from the sandy area, which is infested with scorpions, and on the walkways where mummies guard their treasures. Some of the treasures are cursed. When you get one of these treasures with a curse, the dice on the cursed artifact do not count when you roll them. There's also 3 mummies patrolling the walkway guarding their treasures. Meanwhile, while the adventurers are searching, the pyramid is falling apart and dropping rubble down at random places. The game round goes as follows. Adjust wound and load level, determine the number of actions, perform actions, move the mummies, place a block, and lastly pass the ankh and dice. Each player gets a game aid card. The numbers on the left are the number of treasures, idols, equipment, and wound cards your character currently has. To adjust your wound or load level, each player counts the number of wounds, treasures, idols, and equipment he has, and slides the card accordingly. The dice keeper rolls all 5 dice. Every dice roll of 2 or higher is how many actions you get that turn. In the cobra nest, the scorpion pit, and the crocodile pond, the only options you have are to move or search. In the mummy's corridor, you can move, open the sarcophagus, take a treasure from an open sarcophagus, or pick a lock. To get one of the 4 idols, you have to pick a lock. And it works a lot like Yahtzee. You're basically trying to roll a straight with the number of actions you have. Each rolls another action to try to pick the lock. To move the mummies, the dice keeper rolls 5 dice and moves each mummy 1 space in its corridor for each die result that is higher or equal to 4. To place a stone block, the dice keeper selects 1 random stone block and places it on the corresponding space on the game board, like so. The players need to get out of the pyramid before the exit's blocked off. So get in, get as much treasure you can, and get the heck out before the mummies get you or you're trapped alive with them. And from the treasure hunt in Egypt, let's go to the other side of the world and hunt for some Incan gold. Incan Gold's the easiest of these 3 games. 2 choices: stay in the temple to get more treasures or get out before 2 hazards turn up. The treasure pieces work like currency and have values of 1, 5, and 10. While the first 3 artifacts are worth 5 points, any more after that are worth 10. The first player starts by turning over a temple card which shows what round it is. Then the players secretly select their torch or their camp cards, and players turn them all over at the same time. The torch card means the player is staying in the temple, and if they play their camp card, they are leaving with the treasures they've collected so far. After those cards are revealed, the quest card is revealed, which can be a treasure, artifact, or a hazard. If it is a treasure card, the treasure is evenly distributed among the players, and they place the treasure in front of them, but not in their tent. If it can't be divided evenly, the remainder that could not be divided is left on the quest card. If more than 1 are leaving, it must be split evenly, or the treasure remains. Artifacts, on the other hand, can only be collected when only 1 player leaves. The explorers face a number of hazards. It might be the spider, the zombie, the fire, the snakes, or the cave-in. 1 hazard of any specific type is not a problem, but a second one is too much for these adventurers, and they drop any loot they collected so far and leave the temple, and it's on to the next round. The player with the most treasure at the end of 5 rounds is the winner. Incan Gold is quick to play and easy to teach, and appeals to game players of all kinds. Have you ever pulled a game out of your closet and just to find a big mess? Something kind of like this? You put your other foot down so you don't have to put up that kind of a mess. Here at the Gamers Grind, we use a lot of Ziplocs for one. We got use 3 different sizes depending on the components in the game. Plus you could label these. If you have that white block like that, it means you can write on them. And it's great for people that when they first open them, they find what pieces are exactly and they put them back where they were, hopefully. The other thing we use is Hugo's Amazing Tape. It's a non-adhesive tape used like in embroidery and crafting. It has like 1,000 different uses. It can stick to itself and any other smooth surface. We use them for cards. And as you can see, it's like they could flip the cards around and they still hold. They're better than rubber bands. Rubber bands, after a while, they'll attach to the card after a number of years, and I had a number of games where that was the case. Speaking of rubber bands, box bands is another great way to store games. Some games really call for it. There's basically different sizes. It just crisscrosses around the game and really holds it really tight. A lot of card games like this, they have nice dividers they come with, but if the lid comes loose, it tends to not hold together. All the cards might fall out, and I had that same exact issue with Dominion. So if you use like a box band, it'll hold it together and you'll damage your cards. Another interesting tip came from actually Days of Wonder in the instructions for Small World, assembling all the little pieces, or punching out all the little pieces that it comes with. It's just not throwing out the cardboard that you punch them out with, but to save it. The reason why, if you see this little gap, that's where the punches, the tokens were before you punched them, and now you got this big gap, and the board fits in there, so it's going to be a big gap, and there's going to be things bouncing around. These will come loose, and it's a big mess. But instead of throwing those away, save them, put them underneath the plastic, and may just raise it up. In case of Small World, that's the case. The other tip is deck protecting cards. If you use a game a lot and you really want to protect it, those are perfect. They're just little plastic sleeves. Some are clear, there are some colored ones, and you just use, if you use the cards a lot, like, it'll keep them nice and crisp. And lastly, we got, kind of wondering why I had Cheetos and Jones soda and pop chips here. Snacks, they could really damage your game if you're not careful. Cheetos and cheese puffs, well, you probably want to have some napkins available, because orange hands aren't very good for cards. Baked chips or pop chips are great for this type of game, or for a game snack, because you don't really have that issue. Jones, well, it's not about Jones, it's about the lid. If you gamed a lot, eventually you'll have a big spill, and there's a number of things you could do. One, just keep the lid on while you're playing. Another thing is you could keep the games, get snacks off the table. If you use like little end tables, little TV trays, or a nice little cart like this. You've been watching The Gamer's Grind Show. The Gamer's Grind is located at 6326 Main Avenue in Orangevale, California. Be sure to like us on Facebook, visit our website, and of course come on down and play some games off the wall.